Listen, there are a lot of podcasts about the black church in the vein of Larry Reed and King Jives.
Yikes.
But if you're looking for a podcast about the black church that's thoughtful, informative, substantive, stimulating, then you need to subscribe to Black Church Chats. That's right. I need you to hit that subscribe button and then also hit the notification bell so that you'll know every time we go live. All right, on to the show. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you. I hope you are well. I see y'all already in the comments, the faithful few already in the comments, y'all. I see my mom. This is mom too, y'all. This is my second mama. She's here, and I'm so glad that she's here because she always roots me on. It doesn't matter if the show is good or if it's a dud. I know Mom Myrtle is going to root me on. And then my aunties are here as well, y'all. Aunties Melissa and Millicent, they're watching. They are supporting as well. Shout out to my aunties who are here. And then my boy, Chris. What's up, Chris? Watching from Arlington, Texas. But you're right, Doc. You always repping Flint. And it's so good to have you here. And the rest of y'all, oh, what's up, Gospel Philomath? Grace and peace to you, man. I'm so glad that you're here. Salute to you, sir. Yes. And the rest of y'all out there that are lurking, come on, make yourself known. Where are you watching from? What's up? Say something. This is what I always say. I like my podcast like I like my preaching. Come on and talk back to me. So just drop a comment. What's up, Pastor Troy? Pastor Troy from Louisiana, my brother, my friend, my sparring partner. It's good to see you, Doc. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Yes. Awesome. Thank you guys for being on. If you are not subscribed to this channel, then my brother, my sister, I need y'all to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll know every single time we go live. We want you to be a part of the community. Righteousness and Justice Podcast, who's dropping heat over on his channel. Go follow my brother. He's watching from the DC area. My wife actually grew up in Southeast DC. Well, she spent the first part of her life up until high school in DC, and then she moved to Georgia. So yeah. Good to see you. All right. Listen, let's have a conversation. So the first thing that I want to do, y'all, is I want to show you what sparked this particular broadcast. Today, we're going to talk about how the black church at one point in history was the most dangerous institution in America. Y'all, I'm not overstating the case. When racists and white supremacists thought about the black church, they got scared, quaked in their boots. When the state contemplated and considered the existence of the black church, they got frustrated, confounded, upset, so much so they attempted to pass laws against gatherings and things of that nature. We're going to talk about the legacy and the history of terrorism and violence aimed at the black church. For what? Was there like illegal activity happening within black churches? Embezzlement? What's up, JM? Salute to you. Embezzlement, human trafficking. I mean, why? Why would governments, Ku Klux Klan organizations, why would they all want to target the black church? Well, we're going to talk about it. But before we do, I want to share with you what led me to having this discussion this afternoon. I want you to watch this quick clip of the current president. And I just want you to hear his very chilling words. Watch this.
Well, like a lot of people, they want to hear from ministers. They want to hear from priests. They want to hear from them. And you were restricted from talking about very important things like who to elect. If you said that, you were gone. You couldn't do it, even if you said it in a very nice way because they were going to be better for the church. And we worked hard, and we're going to make that permanent pretty soon, I think, Mike. But we worked hard at getting rid of the Johnson Amendment. It's gone as far as you can say anything you want. Now, if you do say something bad about Trump, I will change my mind, and I will have your tax-exempt status immediately revoked.
Did y'all hear that? Shout out to Destiny in Christ. Salute to you. One of our members, y'all. She's a member of this channel. She's not just a subscriber. She's a member. And so we appreciate your presence here, Destiny, as always. Did y'all just hear that? Did y'all just hear the current president say that if churches don't like Trump, he will revoke their 501c3 status? And the audience laughed heartily. Oh, Isaiah, the president is just joking. He's being funny. You're taking it too seriously. There you go with your Trump derangement syndrome, y'all. I've learned that when this president speaks in jest, he's actually saying how he feels. Shout out to Unknown Disciple of Christ. What's up? Glad you're here. Glad you're watching from Florida. That's right. Look at what Righteousness and Justice podcast says. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Oh, you guys just have TDS, and you guys aren't able to take a joke. Yeah, okay. Do you see what's happening in our streets right now? Do you hear the president talking about nationalizing the vote during the midterms? This president has fascistic dreams. This president is absolutely a dictator. He definitely wants to impose totalitarianism. And so when I hear him say that churches that oppose him will be in danger of losing their 501c3 status, all of his bots and all of his bootlickers will laugh. Oh, he's just joking. No, he ain't. No, he ain't. In Trump's America, the only churches that will be authorized are the white Christian nationalist churches that support him, and not just support him, laud him, praise him, and declare publicly and privately that he can do no wrong. I firmly believe that. Y'all can say whatever y'all want to say. Oh, you what an alarmist. You're hysterical. No, I see with my eyes what this president has done and is doing to this country. I clearly can see that he wants to rule this country with an iron fist, and he only supports Christianity insofar as it furthers his own agenda and the agenda of the MAGA movement. Look what JM is saying. JM is right. He's gone after other institutions who spoke out against him, like universities, corporations, federal courts, etc. That's right. Absolutely right. And so it's not far-fetched to imagine a world where churches that don't support him, churches that oppose his fascistic, far-right, inhumane agenda, those churches will be targeted, and those churches will be persecuted. We saw recently a white supremacist pastor say that 90%, 90 to 95% of black churches need to be dismantled, disbanded. And those parishioners need to find white churches. We saw this. So you better believe that in Trump's America, churches that have a spine, pastors that actually do justice and recognize tyrannical rule when they see it and speak out against this white supremacist, racist regime and movement will be targeted. And here's the reality. Here's the reality. If and when that happens, this will not be new territory for the black church. If and when Trump and his goons and his Gestapo and his ICE minions turn their guns toward black churches, and I'm talking about black churches with conviction, black churches with integrity, black churches that actually believe the Bible, and they start to actively persecute these churches, this will not be new territory for the black church. Because there was once a time when the black church was viewed as an existential threat. There was a time when the black church was viewed as an enemy of the state, of the efforts and aims of white supremacy. There was a time when the black church was targeted, not just for being black, but for being biblical. The black church is absolutely the first persecuted church in America. And it was persecuted because it stood on the word of God. And it actually said, hey, the God of the Exodus narratives, the God of the Exodus narrative is the true and living God. So if we claim to worship that God, what's up with this inhumane institution of chattel slavery? MAGA doesn't like black churches who speak truth to power. Absolutely right. I agree with you, Pastor Isaiah. Criticism of 47 isn't 501c3 violation. It's supposed to be a neutral legal status. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so here's the point of this broadcast. Again, I don't like to be an alarmist. And I don't want to be the guy on the internet that's like doom and gloom and you know, sending people into a frenzy. But listen, y'all, I don't want you to pastors, listen to me, do not underestimate what I'm saying. And recognize and realize that you are either going to stand up and be biblical and embrace biblical, authentic Christianity and align with the black church tradition that speaks truth to power and calls out injustice and white supremacy, or you're going to abandon biblical, authentic Christianity and go the way of the state. Jesus said something, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of history. Jesus said something. John chapter 15, listen to what he said. He said, if the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you as its own. All right. So listen, if you're currying favor with Trump, who is absolutely of the world, This Trump and this administration, there's no way you can argue that they are a Christian, godly administration and that Trump is a Christian, godly president. Jesus says in John 15:19, if you were of the world would love you as its own. That's why Trump loves these MAGA churches and these MAGA preachers and these black MAGA churches. Not because they're holding to biblical fidelity, but because they're just like him with religious paint on. Jesus says, let me read it, verse 19. If you were of the world would love you as its own, but because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Jesus continues in verse 20. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, who's they that were persecuting? Who's they? Who's they? Who's they? Jesus was being persecuted by the religious establishment, and Jesus was being persecuted by who? The state, the Roman government. Jesus said, if they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they kept my word, they will also keep yours. Let's travel to a time when, oh, by the way, let me pause, and let me plug this. What are you doing tonight at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time? Because this will not be the only time I go live. I will go live again tonight at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'm going live tonight with the Black Church History Lecture Series that I'm in all month long, every Tuesday night at 6:30 in Pacific Standard Time. I am lecturing on a specific aspect of Black church history. Tonight, I'm talking about 5 Black church leaders that history forgot. That's, again, tonight at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're doing this all month long, every Tuesday night. We want you to be here. I'm not going to be on too long tonight because I still need to prepare for tonight's lecture. But y'all, we are going to talk about our history because a lot of it is so relevant for today. So make plans to be back on tonight at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the Black Church History Lecture. All right. Let's go back to a time when Black people in this country were enslaved. And they had no freedom. And they were forced to toil and labor under the extremely unbiblical, extremely unrighteous system of Western American chattel slavery. And these enslaved people, our enslaved ancestors, they caught wind of a God who is liberative, a God who doesn't make captives, rather he sets the captives free. They catch wind of this Exodus narrative. And this Jesus, who they find out is the embodiment of Yahweh. So whoever this Jesus is, he must be like Yahweh. His will must be aligned to the Father's. Sounds like good biblical theology, right? And so they despite their deep suffering, they say, wait, there's something to this Jesus. There's something to this Jesus. But when they attend slave master churches, let me show you this. This is a resource here I want to commend to all of you. Uncle Pete. Uncle Pete is another member of this channel. Glad to be in the service. Missed the last few, but you're here today, and we're so glad you're here, Uncle Pete. And it's okay if you miss, Doc. You always catch the replay, and that's greatly appreciated. All right. Listen, this is an essential book right here. Slave Religion by Albert Rabbitoe. If you want to understand Black church history, you gotta read this book. When enslaved people visited plantation churches, authorized by slave masters, this is what they heard. This is out of the Jones's Catechism, enjoined slaves. This is what they said. They said, count your masters worthy of all honor, as those whom God has placed over you in this world with all fear. You are to be subject to your masters. Obey them in all things, possible and lawful, with good will, and endeavor to please them well. And let servants serve their masters as faithfully behind their backs as before their faces. God is present to see, even if their masters are not. So this is the type of preaching they heard. This is the type of preaching that they heard. You are chattel. You are a beast of burden, and you should be okay with it. You don't have basic humanity. You are here to serve at the behest of these people that are whipping you, raping you, or I can't say that word. You know that word that I just said that YouTube will ban you over, right? And you guys should accept that. You guys should recognize that this is your lot in life. This is your godly station. Now, obviously, anybody with the shred of biblical knowledge understands that that's not biblical Christianity. Understands that completely flies in the face of the doctrine of the Imago Dei. Anybody that knows anything about basic Christian theology, basic Christian doctrine, knows that this is heretical teaching. If you don't know that, you're not as perceptive as our enslaved ancestors, because they knew that. And guess what they did, y'all? Guess what they did? They said, look, we are going to ignore this type of teaching. We're going to chalk this type of teaching up to sin and unrighteousness. It is unbiblical. And so they rejected wholesale. Now, let me say this. This brand of teaching that upholds structures, systems of white supremacy, this brand of theologizing, it still exists today. This type of teaching that upholds white supremacist norms, it still exists today. Pastors rush to their socials to say, y'all are overreacting. That meme that the president posted wasn't racist. There were other Democratic officials depicted as animals, and so overlook the tropes and overlook what it means, what it is meant to our country historically to depict African Americans as apes. Overlook all that. Just ignore that. That wasn't racist, thereby normalizing, sanitizing racist images, racist behavior, and racist tropes, historical racist tropes. That type of talk and teaching may not be as overtly racist as what I just read to you, as what enslaved people heard. But make no mistake, all these pastors, oh no, that wasn't racist. That old Trump, all he was doing was making fun of the Democrats. As we saw with our own eyes, 2 black leaders depicted as apes, posted to this president's social media and left up there for 12 hours. Come on, y'all. And so, even in this moment, the black church has a choice. Will you swallow the slave master teaching that invites you to turn a blind eye towards racist behavior, racist rhetoric, racist tropes, racist history? Will you join along with the slave master preacher in lulling this country to sleep and making this racist white supremacist agenda helping to prosper and advance? Or are you going to take the alternative route, the biblical route, the godly route, and say, no, that ain't Christianity. That ain't biblical Christianity. That's a perversion of Christianity. Any pastor that would try to explain away, sanitize that pastor is lost. Because the black church tradition shows us that in the face of blatant, unbiblical, incorrect white supremacist teaching, black church said no. No. But y'all, they did not say no to Christianity. And I love these comments. Pay attention to the black MAGA pastors who will be attending the national gathering of prayer. Yeah, and all that is just that's a gathering of idolatry. Notice the black MAGA preachers who defend 47 are silent about the Epstein files. That's absolutely dead silent. So here's where I'm going. Enslaved black people, they don't reject Christianity altogether. They just reject white supremacist, unbiblical, racist rhetoric and lies wrapped up in Christian garb. And they meet together in what we call now the invisible institution. And they're meeting to worship Jesus. They're meeting as a way to honor God and praise God and love God and love one another. It's this restorative secret meeting where they get together, they worship Jesus, and they are imbued with strength from on high to go back and face the dark, long night of slavery. And you would think that would be celebrated by Christians the country over. Oh, look at these enslaved people, man! They're coming to Christ. They're worshiping Christ. They're gathering to honor God and to worship God and to fellowship. But that's not how these gatherings were viewed. I want to read something to you out of this book, Slave Religion. Again, y'all, remember, we're talking about the black church as the most dangerous institution in America. And here you have enslaved people gathering to worship Jesus. They are not at the levers of power. They are not senators, congressmen. They are enslaved. Listen to this. Slaves faced severe punishment if caught attending secret prayer meetings. What's up, Du Bois? Good to see you. Moses Grandy reported that his brother-in-law Isaac, a slave preacher, listen to y'all, he was flogged and his back pickled for preaching at a clandestine service in the woods. His listeners were flogged and forced to tell who else was there. Grandy claimed that slaves were often flogged if they are found singing or praying at home. Gus Clark reported, my boss didn't allow us to go to church or to pray or sing. If he catched us praying or singing, he whooped us. He didn't care for nothing except farming. According to another ex-slave, the white folks would come in when the colored people would have prayer meeting and whip every one of them. Most of them thought that when colored people were praying, it was against them. For they would catch them praying for God to lift things out of their way, and the white folks would lift them. Henry Bibb, listen, y'all. Henry Bibb was threatened with 500 lashes on the naked back for attending a prayer meeting conducted by slaves on a neighboring plantation because he had no permission to do so. The master who threatened Bibb with this punishment was, incidentally, a deacon of the local Baptist church. Charlotte Martin asserted that her oldest brother, listen, Charlotte Martin asserted that her oldest brother was whipped to death for taking part in one of the religious ceremonies. Despite the danger, slaves continued to hold their own religious gatherings because, as Grandy stated, they liked their own meetings better. What would cause a group of people to whoop unalive? I got to learn how to say these words so my account isn't flagged. What would cause a group of people to whoop, unalive, brutalize, persecute, terrorize, and harm people for prayer? Because of worship. Over worship. What? I'll tell you. Fear. Fear. They understood that these enslaved people, though they did not have guns, though they had no political power, though they had no money, no resources, they understood that they collectively were still a force if they organized. They were a threat. Their organizing alone was a threat to unjust, racist, and white supremacist power structures. They were afraid of these godly, spirit-filled, fire-baptized believers recognizing and realizing, oh, wait a minute. This is unjust. We have dignity, worth, and value, and becoming a problem to white hegemonic power and racist structures. And so you better believe, sick the dogs on them, bring out the bullwhip. And so time after time, right? You have the Haitian rebellion, right? So let me back up. There were these codes. They were called slave codes. These laws were meant to solidify race-based chattel slavery as a system in this country. And these slave codes were brutal and harsh and inhumane. One of these codes was that enslaved people couldn't assemble together secretly, privately. And so this was already on the books. And now you would have in some instances, you would have like, some slave masters that would turn a blind eye, or in some instances you would have some situations where the control was a little bit more lax, and enslaved people would slip away. And in some cases, there are reports of, in some cases, experiencing more, for lack of a better word, freedom to worship than on other plantations, until there was an uprising. And so you have the Haitian rebellion, and you have the enslaved people in Haiti overthrowing the French government. Sends shockwaves to white folks in America. And they come down with an iron fist, hard, upon black worshipers and the black church. You have Nat Turner's rebellion in Virginia. That rebellion is ultimately squashed, but it's squashed after Nat Turner unalives a number of people. And boy, after that rebellion, squash. And then you have a plot being organized by a man named Denmark Vesey. Now, I have Denmark Vesey on my wall. This is Vesey on my wall right here. Right here. That's Denmark Vesey. Y'all, my wall right here, this is what I call the wall of faith. Okay? All of these people on my wall, unapologetically Christian, unapologetically black, fought and toiled for black freedom, black enfranchisement. And they did so because they were motivated by God, by the word of God, and by the gospel. And so I have Denmark Vesey on my wall. Uh-oh. Well, y'all see it zoomed in. Let me zoom it out. Okay. And I want to read a little bit more about Vesey and his plot to rebel. Very solid plot. Very well thought out. Well planned plot. His plot to overthrow, listen to me, guys, listen, his plot to overthrow the unbiblical, brutal, and disgusting system of chattel slavery in this country was exposed by another black man named Prialu. This is why I always say all our skin folk ain't kinfolk. Because here's this guy named Prialu. He gets wind of what Vesey is planning, and he goes and he tells. And as a result, this rebellion is squashed before it gets the chance to happen. Denmark Vesey and his co-conspirators, many of them are hung. And Prialu is awarded. He's given money. He's given land. He is celebrated. In Charleston, South Carolina, I believe, and don't fact check me on this, but I believe, reading, that his descendants today still enjoy some privilege and influence as a result of Prialu's betrayal. But I want to read to you more about Vesey. And I want you to see that this wasn't just a plot being devised in the mind of one man, but he had a network. This wasn't just Vesey's plot. This was a black church plot. Let me read it. What's up? What's up, Gut and Saint? That's my brother right there, y'all. Good to see you, Doc. Good to see you. Let me read it. The memories of two slave revolts led by black men who claimed religious validation for their cause made slaveholders wary of missionaries' assurances about the tranquilizing effect of Christianity upon slaves. So yes, there were missionaries going around the antebellum South saying, "Hey, if you Christianize your slaves, they'll become docile, and they'll become weak." Okay, listen to this. A majority of the slaves executed for conspiring to revolt in Charleston, South Carolina in 1822 were members of the city's African Methodist Church, Emmanuel, Mother Emmanuel. This is the same church, in fact, that Dylan Roof, the white supremacist young man, he went into Emmanuel Church, the same church. He went into that church and he unalived 9 people, including the pastor. And then subsequently, the police bought him a burger on his way to jail. But it says, "Thank you, man. Shout out, salute. First, this is the first gift, first super chat of the show. Appreciate it. Listen, y'all. Listen, if you're feeling froggy, you can follow Gut and Saint's lead, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you for the gift, Doc. Any amount is appreciated. Thank you, man. Thank you. Okay, so listen. 2 of the conspirators were class leaders, and several witnesses implicated Morris Brown. That name should sound familiar to y'all. Morris Brown. Think Atlanta. Think the defunct HBCU. Morris Brown, who was a bishop in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, he was most likely a co-conspirator along with Denmark Vesey. All right, so Morris Brown, pastor of the church and later assistant bishop to Richard Allen, it was alleged that Denmark Vesey, now here's the reality, if Morris Brown was a part of the plot, it's also most likely the case that Richard Allen was aware. But I digress. It was alleged that Denmark Vesey, the plot's leader, used, listen, scriptural texts to win supporters for the insurrection. You know, it's so funny to me that these conservatives will applaud the actions of the so-called founding fathers in launching the Revolutionary War to obtain their quote-unquote freedom. Oh, that was wonderful. That was a great revolution. That they were courageous. But then a man like Denmark Vesey, who was also trying to launch a just war against an unjust system, somehow diminished. But I digress. He used the Bible to win supporters to the cause. Listen to this. One conspirator confessed that Vesey read in the Bible where God commanded that all should be cut off, both men and women and children, and said it was no sin for us to do so, for the Lord had commanded us to do it. Vesey, an ex-slave who had purchased his own freedom with the proceeds from a lottery, read his Bible and found in it that slavery was wrong. According to a deposition against Vesey, his general conversation was about religion, which he would apply to slavery, As for instance, he would speak of the creation of the world, in which he would say all men had equal rights, blacks as well as whites. All his religious remarks were mingled with slavery. Do you guys see the difference between a church that is aligned with the evil, wicked systems of the state and a church that opposes the evil, wicked systems of the state upon biblical grounds? Are you guys seeing why guns were aimed, literal guns were aimed toward the black church? Because they rightly interpreted scripture. They took the word of God seriously, so much so that it compelled them to risk their bodies to oppose the unjust and evil system of chattel slavery. And for that, they were repressed. For that, they were hunted. And for that, they were unalived. And so you better believe, yes, black church was the most dangerous institution in America to white supremacists, the white power structure. And my question is, my question is, will we reclaim that dignified label right now? Right now, we are at a defining moment where black churches all across this country, we got to decide. We got to decide, y'all. Are we going to be shields of the state? Are we going to be culturally compromised? Or are we going to potentially risk life and limb to oppose the unjust, unbiblical aims of the state? And when I say risk life and limb, listen, because I have lurkers. I have lurkers, y'all. I was on Facebook the other day, and you know how on Facebook you can see who views your story. And I was on Facebook, and sure enough, guess who was all up looking at my story? And I'm not even friends with this person on Facebook, but none other than Rick Caldwell. Rick Caldwell was all up in my story because I have lurkers. And so I understand that the lurkers may take this and may take a clip and say, ooh, here's a pastor in Los Angeles advocating for armed resistance against the government. This is what I'm advocating for. Listen, this is what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating all of your story too. yeah. Shout out to Treese. Their hate for us has always been spiritual warfare. That's right. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. That's right. yeah. So this is what I'm saying. I am calling for all churches, black churches particularly, because this is a part of our legacy and tradition, to resist unjust power and authority, to bring the Bible to bear, and to stand up for truth, for righteousness, for dignity, and justice, regardless of what the cost may be. That's what I'm advocating for. I am calling for churches, black churches particularly, to speak out against the president, against the regime, against an administration that is overtly, clearly racist. And I don't have time. Listen, I don't have time to go through all the examples. And in doing that, we brace ourselves for whatever type of onslaught that brings. Right now, we are not being targeted with violence. But that could very well change. And while I am not advocating violence whatsoever, I am saying black church is, that you are going to have to take a stand and determine whether or not you will align yourself with this dark, demonic human power, or whether you will stand up for righteousness, justice, the Bible, actual Christianity, and truth, and accept whatever costs there may be. Because listen, I wish I could tell you, right? The black church, we stood strong, right, during enslavement, and emancipation came, and we gained our freedom. After emancipation, of course, our churches grew. Every denomination increased exponentially, right? And I wish I could say, y'all, they left us alone. They left our churches alone. I wish I could say that, but I can't. Because you have black churches that are threatening to white supremacist aims and power for a number of different reasons. Number one, of course, there is organizing potential. Of course. So that's number one, right? This is why you have so many black conservatives out there misrepresenting the black church, lying about the black church, caricaturing the black. They're doing that for political aims. They want to weaken the black church politically because they understand the black church has, if it organizes and coalesces, powerful. But not just that, after emancipation, of course, we know black church becomes like the center of black social life. It becomes the focal point of black social cohesion. Schools, banks, meeting facilities, real estate. We own it. We start purchasing our own buildings, right? Black business, black ingenuity. So now you have black leaders coming out of the black church, black wealth being created as a result of the efforts of the black church. All of that is anathema to white supremacists and to the white supremacist agenda. You have, and listen. You have black people being dignified. Why do you think Richard Allen leaves St. George's Methodist Episcopal Church? And when he starts a church, his own church, he calls it Mother Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church. He could have just called it Mother Bethel Methodist Episcopal Church. But he specifically calls it Mother Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church because he wants to affirm, and he wants other black people to affirm, their good and godly identity as Africans in a foreign continent. You don't just see that with Mother Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, the African Methodist Episcopal denomination. African Methodist Episcopal Zion. You have the first African Baptist church in the oldest existing black church in America in Savannah. You have the first African Presbyterian. You see, like, African. Why? Because the black church says, no, we're gonna dignify this. You are not trash. White supremacists hate that. So the legacy continues even after emancipation. Black churches targeted, black leaders, black pastors particularly targeted, harassed. And y'all, I don't even have time to talk about the civil rights movement and how the state, in cahoots with white supremacist organizations such as the Ku Klux Klan, launched actual campaigns of violence against black churches and black church leaders. Not just that, the wiretapping, the blackmail, the psychological warfare infused into black church institutional life by the government. Listen, when we talk about the civil rights movement, and I'm not going to be here much longer, y'all. Remember, let me plug this. I'm going to be back on tonight at 6:30 p.m. I want you to join me. I'm going to be talking about 5 black church leaders history forgot. This is all month long at 6:30 p.m. I'll be doing a black church history lecture. This is what we call our Black Church History virtual lecture series. This is our 3rd year doing this. And so I'm not going to be on long because I'm still preparing for this. And I want you to join me for this conversation in a little over an hour, about an hour and a half from now, here on this channel. But listen, as I was saying, when we think of the civil rights movement, and when we think of the terror unleashed upon black churches during the civil rights movement, we often only think of, like, the 16th Street Baptist Church, where racist white supremacists targeted black worshipers and black churchgoers at this church, bombed it, and killed 4 little girls. Heinous, egregious, disgusting, and we focus on that, and we should. That should always stay in our consciousness and in our memory. We should talk about that. But do you know that during that time, the city of Birmingham was known as Bombingham? That was the nickname during that time. They called it Bombingham. Why? Because these bombings, they bombed private homes, and they bombed a number of churches, 16th Street being the most famous and notable because of the 4 little girls. But they bombed New Bethel Baptist Church. They bombed St. Luke's African Methodist Episcopal Church. They bombed Triumph Church, Kingdom of God and Christ. They bombed St. Matthew's Baptist Church. That was in Macon, Georgia. So this wasn't just relegated to Alabama. They bombed churches in Georgia. They bombed churches in South Carolina. They bombed churches in Mississippi. Bethel Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. St. James United Methodist Church. So they bombed these churches as a form of terror. Why? Because they were scared. They were threatened by not just the organizing power of the black church, but y'all, these black people were spirit-filled. These black people knew Jesus for real. These black people were shown up saved, sanctified, And they knew there is a power behind them, moving them, motivating them, that we cannot seem to suppress. But they tried their darndest. Why? Because in their minds, the black church was the most dangerous institution in America. It was a danger to white supremacist power, white supremacist authority, structures and systems of white supremacy, the status quo in the South, segregation. It was a threat to all of that, and so therefore had to be targeted, terrorized, eliminated. And here's the question I'm going to ask as I prepare to log off, get ready. I want to see y'all back here at 6:30 p.m. Okay, I want to see y'all back here. But here's the question that I want to ask. What are we going to be today? What are we going to be today? I don't have time to go into how and why we lost that prophetic edge and voice. I don't have time to go into how we went from being viewed as the most dangerous institution in America by white supremacists and by racists to kind of being viewed as sort of this kind of irrelevant institution that like can be just laughed at and caricatured but not taken seriously. I don't have time to go into it. Maybe one day I will. And I think I have some other broadcasts on this channel where I do talk about what happened in the light of, desegregation and things of that nature. I don't have time to talk about it now. But the question is, in the face of this administration, in the face of this MAGA movement, and listen, this movement it's a revival of Strom Thurmond, Ross Barnett. This is a revival of Dixie, Confederate, all of the grievances, all of the hatred, all of the racial animosity. This is a revival of all of that. Black church, where will we stand? Where will we stand? So Sammy, I see your question here. And I need a little bit more background of what you mean 2A out there in LA. So maybe come back on at 6:30 and I'm going to have some Q&A time. But I need a little bit more insight as to what you're referring to. That's right. Kojic headquarters church received bomb threats right after Charlie Kirk was unalive. That's right. Not just, and HBCUs received bomb threats, right? So terror is still alive. It's still well, but today you have a lot of black preachers in the back pocket of this administration. You have a lot of black churches going along with the okie doke. Donald Trump, I think, received about 13% of the black vote. Now, of course, we overwhelmingly voted against him, but the fact that he received that much black support should be troubling. Yes, I do. I see that now. Yes, I absolutely do. Yes, and yes. All right, y'all. Listen, I am going to be back on tonight at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that again, that's a little over an hour. I'm going to be back on tonight's discussion: the 5 black church leaders history forgot. You want to listen. Every Black History Month, we learn about the regular names, as we should, right? Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, right? George Washington Carver, right? Carter G. Woodson. We should know about these people, but sometimes it's good and beneficial to go off the beaten path. because there's more to Black history and Black church history than just the commonly known names. And so join me back here 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, a little over an hour for this discussion. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Again, I will be back on. Thank y'all for being here, but I want to see y'all again in a little over an hour. All right. Grace and peace. Bye-bye.